the second year in a row, the Patriots added day 2 wide receiver. It's Kyle Williams in 3rd round, 69th overall. He's fast, he's productive, he's got the right size. People are excited because he's got tape that shows he could be a difference maker. So let's take a look at some of Kyle's tape and see what he can do for the Patriots offense. So I want to start with Kyle Williams' release package. He has a varied release package. He kind of paid his bus fare into the NFL, and not only does he have a lot of releases, but he uses them against appropriate coverages and appropriate defender dispositions. And we're going to look at a couple of good examples of his selectiveness, starting with a split release, which is a non-walk-up style release. So a release that's useful against press when you're deployed in stacks or part of rub kind of concepts where there's not a lot of space to work. And it's kind of like a wide step release, except it's a bilateral wide step where you preserve the ability to break either way. It's really terrific because in this kind of short area where you're expecting press, you're going to have a fast break to each side to preserve timing and good balance if the defender gets his hands on you. And in this clip from Syracuse, he's going to be going to the same release for similar reasons, except instead of a slant and a sort of rub pattern, he's going to be set up in a stack, and he's going to be running a quick basic or an over. And so this is a 2-man route concept in the backside of flood. You can have a blitz come in on the other side, but he has to get out of the way quickly for this to develop. And so he does this good job of juggling both defenders, and that's kind of where the split release works because it's a 2-way release and he could be breaking either way. And these guys are kind of working on a combo coverage where they're waiting to see what happens with the lead receiver. But it's also quick and lets him get right into his route where he's going to start working his guy upfield and then break into his over and snap his eyes around to his quarterback and throw a block at the end there, which you'll love to see. And there are more arrows in his quiver. We're going to take a look at this actual walk-up release here, almost quaint walk-up release, and a good one from the boundary, where you see Kyle take almost a full Mississippi count before he even makes a break and just puts this sort of hyperactive handsy defender on ice for a second. It's really the preferred use for that kind of release. And he blends those kind of hesitation elements into all sorts of other kinds of releases. This is a sort of hopped up double wide step release where he's going to take a step outside, step inside, and then break back. And so because the defensive back is set up outside, he's going to work him where he doesn't want him to go, take a jab step back inside, and then go right back outside. But it's set up with this little hop, which is going to load his back foot, but also kind of desync the defensive back, because that's really what he's trying to do, is sync up with the wide receiver so he can shadow him down the field. And you can see from the tape right there, it's just a huge 4 or 5 yard win, ultimately, by Kyle Williams. And he's going to use this exact same kind of release, except from the slot, against Syracuse, where he's going to have a nickel set up, outside leverage, trying to prevent him and funnel him inside to the single safety. Okay, but this one's a second level release, so it's an entirely different kind of chapter in the release package family, and he ends up actually putting this nickel down on the ground with that little hesitation move. But really, like, a lot of his best tape was from outside at this sort of X position, working a diamond release right here, and it's really just a special piece of tape because it all comes together for him. And he's going to work this almost like an inverted version of the last release because he's going to work to the defensive back's leverage strength, then back outside, and he's going to use this excellent chop move to get right past the defender. But the whole release is set up by the salesmanship at the top, where he's driving his whole body and his eyes right past that shoulder, and look how easy the chop is because he's got the defensive back so far off the ball. And, you know, given his size, you might think he's a pure finesse kind of receiver. But looking at this rep from Syracuse, you can see he actually uses these power releases quite frequently. And this one is actually just, I categorize it as a power release, with throwing a shoulder right into the defender. And it works for him because of the psychology. Again, he has this deep quiver of arrows and he knows when to shoot them. And he's going to load everything up on this back foot so he's nice and balanced, can launch into this jab step. The ultimate goal is that he really wants to rip this defensive back, which means he's really trying to get underneath the defensive back who's trying to get hands on him. So he's going to swipe him away, throw a shoulder at him, and then make his way around him to loop out there and get a catch. It's a nice job of stacking. But the psychology of this that works for him is that he's really trying to get a defensive back to get off balance. So we look at the step and then the rip. This guy's hands are all out in front of his body, and he's really in a bad position for Kyle to throw a shoulder up into him. And Kyle really knows how to get defensive backs like that caught off balance. It really is route running sort of genius at work, or budding route running genius anyways. And so the next question is, the Patriots, who just brought in Josh McDaniels, have a second-year quarterback in Drake May. How are they going to sort of put this talent of his, this release talent, to work? And now I think I've already sort of hinted at that, because a guy with a good release package is a guy who's going to be on time, and Kyle is always on time. And we're going to see that go to work here on this 3rd and second shot play with some action elements to it. So you get a loaded box, man down the line, an action fake on the 6 gap, and a nickel who's tied up defending that C gap. And this is 1.5 steps out of the gun with a hitch and a fake timing, so a 3-step drop timing, where the quarterback's just going to put the ball out there for his guy. So it's imperative that Kyle wins up front. And that's what works about this release, is that he's going to walk up, use some hesitation elements, take this little skip jab inside, and that's right where the defensive back is trying to protect him from going because of that nickel who's tied up. And this is just going to break the boundary wide open for Kyle to flash some of the deep ball tracking, but more importantly, keep the action elements on schedule. Now, there's a lot more to be said on that front, specifically when we talk about his route tree and what it's like with a lot of wide receivers coming out of these college spread offenses where they really game the splits. In short, with extra wide hash marks, in-breaking routes can be difficult to evaluate because even when they're not being used as a vertical threat, if they do break inside, they're not really coming over the box, and you don't have to have the same kind of zone cognizance. But I do think Kyle Williams has shown enough in terms of his route tree. Now, even if a lot of his shorter routes are sort of like this, they're sort of uncontested on air or into zones where he can come in underneath these sort of backed up defenses playing quarters, he's shown a propensity to make some good speed cuts and especially to get yards after the catch. We know from earlier videos that he has a full repertoire when it comes to smokes and bubbles. He can run these on time and get you extra yards. I mean, he's kind of a yak machine on that front. You see that right there on this clip where he actually almost gets caught up and still manages to take it to the house. But Washington State did get him some routes where he got to see some zone cognizance and some general idea that might play well in the NFL. On this one, he's going to be running an option kind of route. So he's going to head up in between a bracket and make this sort of read to the middle of the field with his quarterback and slip it in for the touchdown. But make no mistake, Kyle Williams' best tape is in the vertical area of the route tree, and it's really where you want to keep watching it. And we're going to take a look at this out and up here to see, because it plays off those short routes, and it evidences his best trait, which probably is route tempo at this point. And so the out and up is one of those double break moves, and this one scaffolds off a shorter route, one we just looked at a second ago, the Omaha. So you start off in the Omaha, and then you're going to break it upfield. And he's going to show two things here. First is patience and some snap. He really kind of sets his guy up and explodes right through at the right time. And the second is this innate ability to know where he is and stack his man, gets himself wide open, and closes off his backside leverage. And that great ability to manipulate with tempo, it's going to keep showing up on his Z-type reps. So we get away from the release here and watch as he puts this guy on ice. It's about 2 seconds. He gets up to make his move, and then after his move, covers the rest of it in about 1.5 seconds. So he's holding something back and then running past someone who's expecting him to come in slower. We can get a good look at it here, 22, almost a top-down view in this instance, and you're going to see him kind of slice in and then fade off into this flag, catch the ball, create tons of separation. And this is a second down, a running down really, and they're running an old school kind of shot play, and he kind of brings life to it by sort of turning his man around, slicing in, and then angling back out on the flag route. And you're going to see right here, he really hasn't even turned this DB. He's really just on his back heel, taking this one long stride and then taking off. So he kind of saves this in the tank, creates about 2-3 yards separation, makes this nice ball tracking. And like I said, on these Z reps, he really shines here. They're running sort of a play on verts here. And this route that he wins and he takes all the way up against New Mexico is pure tempo. And we're going to roll it back, and you're just going to see he doesn't put a move on anyone. He just runs at them at one velocity, and then right at the break point, takes off. Let's watch this again. 1, 2, 3, boom, long stride. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, long stride, off and running. He's not that much faster than this DB that he's absolutely posterizing. He just knows how to hold something in the tank and has a good idea of how to manipulate the guy across from him. Now, he does have a surplus of tape with really good manipulation. Like this rep is a simple post also against New Mexico, where he really just tuned that defense up. Now, if we take this one from the top, we can see how he's going to start with this defender in a leverage, trying to guard against anything in breaking. And he's going to break his defender down by attacking that part where he feels like he's vulnerable and then cutting back across his body. And clearly he gets himself open, but what I like is that a lot of the best players have this kind of always attacking mentality. He's taking him inside, then outside, then back inside, and look how he gets him turned around. I mean, that's about as leverage compromised as you can be. And from the end zone, you see, I mean, that's a gimme touchdown for the quarterback. It's wide open. It really is a great post route. On Kyle's tape, like a lot of college players, I would have liked to have seen more direct in-breaking routes like this dig also from the New Mexico State University game. It's a speed cut. I like how he attacks it, and he's really direct about running the route. He doesn't have a chance to catch this, but I do like how he's making the move to kind of seal off and get his leverage. He's not letting the cornerback get in front of him at all. It's really how you run a straight up speed cut. It's really about your position and your timing. And there are a few good reps of him scoring on in-breaking routes against zone coverage, like this one against cover 6, and he's going to be on the quarter side, and he's going to wrap this one up and around the coverage and get that anticipation shot for his quarterback. You can see from the end zone here, boom, like right behind the ear of the referee. And I think we can agree that the NFL is sort of going this way, where you have to make these anticipation shots and you have to run the routes into these kind of coverages where he's going to get carried up and then carried over by this linebacker group. So on a rep like this, I'm looking for them to uncover, get their eyes around their quarterback, and do so without letting their leverage get compromised by either of the safeties. We have another really good rep from the same game where they're going to be running sprint smash, but against college spacing. It's going to work like a basic over the middle, and he's going to run this pylon back on the end line. In fact, sometimes people will write these in almost like an end line route or right end line or road line, where, when we've seen this in so many games, follow that back line, hit the pylon, get the toes in. And I know everyone loves a good release clip, but I love a good sprint clip where you're going to have the line in a slide pro. They're going to make it solid with the back and move the quarterback outside the 8 gap. And you're going to be trying to defeat pressure or coverage with this kind of rep. But I love with a receiver how you get to see them work over this sort of scaffold of coverage. And you get to see Kyle kind of find a soft spot in the coverage behind everyone where they're kind of feeling him and get open for his quarterback. And to close it out, we can take a look at one more sort of a technical route. Combines a lot of good things that he does. And this is kind of in the Colorado family or flag family. And it's a nice technical route on a timing pattern, really a kind of flood. And what I really liked here is that it's a timing route with options, and he's going to have to be cognizant of reducing it a split to preserve spacing and timing, so he's not standing around on the sideline waiting for the ball while everyone else's routes are developing. And there's 3 things I really love about this route is, number 1, he doesn't sell himself out. He keeps a nice clean tack and draws that cornerback inside. You see the athleticism pop when he turns him around. But I really love how he flattens this out and gets ahead of the corner. Because it really is the kind of essence of these kind of routes, is flatten or head up field depending on leverage so you don't get undercut. And of course, because it's Kyle Williams, you get this little bit of bonus extra yak at the end, which you just love to see. Without getting into numerous other receivers, the Patriots have drafted highly and haven't worked out. I think the major question that everyone wants to know is, how does he fit in with what the Patriots are doing right now? You get a second-year quarterback in Drake May, and he's looking to take that leap. He certainly had a good year last year. You get Josh McDaniels, who's come back under Mike Vrabel. You've got another cast of figures, Doug Marrone being the most prominent, who've been added to the offense. In addition to Drake May, you've added Stephon Diggs in free agency. He's certainly a big name. So even disregarding any negative history with Patriots drafting wide receivers and adding McDaniels, I think looking at Brandon Cooks gives you a pretty good model of what you can expect Kyle Williams. Well, like Cooks, he's got that speed and downfield ability to be your shot guy. And you can also use his incredible yak skills to get him involved with all sorts of design touches. But the tape shows a lot of crossover in how they were used. Like they have this in-breaking, out-breaking route. We have a lot of these kind of post routes where he gets just flashes tempo and break over the middle of the field that make something happen. They're both kind of vertical guys that you play as those ZX hybrids up in the seam, outside a bit. He's got that nice second level release, so you can get him in those mismatch situations. And of course, they both had that ability to beat press, get downfield, and stack someone and make a play for their offensive coordinator and their quarterback, and even flash an occasional physical release like this throw by and score some points. And that's not saying you've got Brandon Cooks part 2 here, but I do think he adds those elements to the offense year one for the Patriots.